Good morning, everybody. Today we are on the last section of topic 10, which is 10-5 two-way frequency table. You have seen two-way frequency tables before. Something looks like this, where you have one category on the left side of the table and then another category on the top of the table, and then it tells you how many people possess these two characteristics, and then it shows you the total number of people for each characteristics and as well as the number of people in the sample. And before we look into the detail of a two-way frequency tables, let's take a look at, what kind of categories do we usually put on some sides of a table. So there are two types of categories. One of them is numerical data. The other one is categorical data. In numerical data, they are the data that can be placed on a numerical scale, such as if I were to ask you, how tall are you? Then your response would be in numerical. You will say my height is about 5 feet 6 inches, or 6 feet, or 6 feet 2 inches, things like that. If I were to ask you how heavy are you, or what is your weight, then you would respond something like I'm 130 pounds, 140 pounds, 150 pounds. If I were to ask you about your age, you'll be telling me a number. You're 15 years old, 30 years old, 60 years old. Or if I were to ask you how much does this item cost, you might be telling me, well, the price is $5, $6, $7. So any response that has a numerical value in it, we call that numerical data. On the other hand, categorical data are non-numerical data that can be grouped into categories, such as if I were to ask you what's your eye color, you might say, some say brown, some say black, some say blue. And they are not numerical, they are just the name of colors. Likewise for hair colors. But if I were to ask you what's your favorite ice cream, same thing. You would say something like chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, rocky road, mint, coffee, etc. So your response are not numerical. So likewise, if I were to ask you your city of birth, some of you might say Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, New York City, New York, San Francisco, California, etc. So the response are not numerical. So these are the two types of data, and a two-way frequency tables sometimes is also called a frequency distribution. It is a table that displays categorical data by representing the number of occurrence for two variables. So in this lesson, we're going to only concentrate on categorical data. So in this example 1, it says data was collected from 100 men and 100 women about their favorite DC comic book superheroes, such as Wonder Woman, as abbreviated as WW, Batman, as abbreviated as BM, or Superman, as abbreviated as SM. And here we have a two-way table, and here it tells you that, well, there are 100 male right here and 100 female here. And there are 87 people that like Wonder Woman, 63 people that like Batman, and then 50 people that like Superman. And in detail, there are 25 male who likes Wonder Woman, 40 male who likes Batman, 35 male who likes Superman, 62 female who likes Wonder Woman, 23 females who likes Batman, and then 15 females who like Superman. And there are 200 people that we asked in this sample. And this is a categorical data. The two variables are gender, right? So one categorical data is gender, and then the other categorical data is their favorite superhero. And this is called a two-way frequency table. It's very, very similar to like a multiplication tables that you have learned in the past, where you have some stuff on the left and some stuff on the top, and then here it's just the characteristics of these two categories. We're going to take a look at more detail into this table. There's something called a marginal frequency distribution, which is a table that displays the total of the frequencies of the rows or columns. So we call these the marginal frequency just because they are the total of the male, that's the total of the female, that's the total of the people who like Wonder Woman, that's the total of the people who like Batman, and then that's the total of the people who like Superman. And there are 200 people overall in this sample. So these blue parts, we call that marginal frequencies because they are the total of the entire row, which is these two, or the entire column, which is these three. Joint frequency, on the other hand, they are the data within the body of a two-way table, the middle cells in the yellow section. So these are the joint frequency. The yellow parts of the joint frequency because they are the occurrence of the two characteristics. The 25s are the males who like Wonder Woman, and this 15 is the female. They are the females who like Superman, right? Etc. So it just there are just special names for different parts of a two-way table. So the entire thing is called a two-way table. The blue part is the marginal frequency, and then the yellow part is the joint frequency. And a type of two-way table, it could be called a marginal frequency distributions if they have the total. If they do not have the total, then it's just a two-way table. Well, this table, let's take a look at example 1. There are quite a couple questions that we could extract from the table for our answers. In part A, it says, how many people prefer Wonder Woman? So it does not specify male or female. So we're going to count both gender. So that means we're going to just look at the Wonder Woman column and we find a total. And we found out that there's 87 people, they're both male or female, that prefer Wonder Woman. So we're going to say 87. In part B, it says how many males prefer Batman. So here there are two categorical data. So they're the gender as well as the favorite superhero. So if that's the case, we're going to take a look at the body of the two-way table. So we're going to take a look at the number that is both male and Batman, which is this number right here. So it's 40 people who are male and like Batman. So we're going to say 40 here. What about part C? It says how many people were surveyed. So regardless of the response, how many people did we ask overall? Well, that means we're going to take a look at the grand total, which is right here, the largest number in the two-way table, and that's 200 people. In part D, how many people prefer Superman? So we're going to take a look at the Superman column, and regardless whether they're male or female, we want to have the total of the people who like Superman, which is this number right here, and that's 50. And finally, how many females were surveyed? And regardless of their favorite superhero, we just want to see how many females are there in the sample. So we're going to take a look at the female row and we take a look at the total, which is 100. So therefore, there are 100 female. So the next thing that you're going to learn is something called conditional relative frequency. Now, what is the difference between frequency and relative frequency? Well, frequency, it's just a number of occurrence, such as the number that we just saw, which are these numbers. These are all frequency. Well, remember, the middle part is the joint frequency, and the total, the row total, column total, they're the marginal frequencies. Now, however, when you put the word relative in the front, now it becomes relative frequency, and that's not really the number of occurrence. Relative frequency, it's the ratio, so ratio or percent of occurrence of a category compared to the total of that category. So it's the ratio of the joint frequency and related marginal frequency. Now it sounds complicated, so we're going to take a look at strict to the example. So it is a very easy math. You just have to do division. The only thing that you have to do is division. So every time you see relative frequency, all you have to remember it's related to ratios, percent, and you have to divide. That's it. Take a look at example 2a. So we have the same data, same exact data about male and female who likes different superheroes, and these numbers are pretty much the same. So in example 2a, it says calculate the conditional relative frequencies for male and female. We want to find out what percent of male that like Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. And we also want to find out what percent of female like Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. And of course the total will be 100% because that's the 100% of the male and 100% of the female. So to find their conditional relative frequency, we have to do some division. Let's go back to this table. Since 100 male and 25 of them like Wonder Woman, the percentage will be 25 divided by 100. And you have to use a calculator, which is 0.25 or 25%. Then there are 40 male who like Batman. So you're going to have 40 divided by the total number of male, which is 100. So 40 divided by 100 using a calculator is 0.4. Then finally, we have 35 male who like Superman. So to find out the relative frequency of the male who like Superman will be 35 divided by 100, which is 0.35. Then the total, it's just there are 100 males, and there's 100 of them, so 100 over 100, which is just 1, right? Total is 1. And of course, if you want to express them in percentage, that's fine too, but I think on your Pearson's homework, it'll ask you to write it as a decimal of a percentage. So this says 25%, but you're going to write it as 0.25. This is 40%, you're going to write it as 0.4, and so on and so forth. Let's go to the females. So females is the same thing. There are 100 females and 62 of them like Wonder Woman. So to find out the percentage of the female who likes Wonder Woman, you have 62 females divided by 100 female, which is 0.62. Then there are 23 females who likes Batman. So it's going to be 23 divided by 100, which is 0.23. And then finally 15 females who like Superman. So you have 15 divided by 100 female, which is 0.15. And of course, the 100 female total, over 100 of them, so the total is just 1. And that's the conditional relative frequencies for male and female. In example 2b, very similar. This time you're going to calculate the conditional relative frequency for DC comic book superheroes. Well, now we want to find out of all these 3 superheroes, what percent of them are male and what percent of them are female. So you notice that the total is not on the sides anymore, it's at the bottom, because we want to find out what percent of the genders like each of the 3 superheroes. So let's take a look at that. So remember, there's 25 males who like Wonder Woman. But there are 87 people who like Wonder Woman. So you're going to have the total number of males who like Wonder Woman divided by the total number of people who likes Wonder Woman. So you do 25 divided by 87. Now this one you have to use a calculator, and you're probably going to round it to 2 or 3 decimal places, but you're just going to use 3 right here. It's going to be 0.287. Okay, let's move on to the female. So there are 62 female who likes Wonder Woman. So you do 62 divided by 87, and again we're going to use a calculator and find out the percentage, which is 0.713 or 71.3%. Well, the total is, well, there are 87 people who likes Wonder Woman over 87 people who likes Wonder Woman, which is just 1 at the bottom. Now let's move on to Batman. There are 40 people who are male, so you're going to have 40 divided by the number of people who likes Batman, which is 63. So 40 divided by 63, we're going to use a calculator, and you'll get 0.635 or 63.5% of the people who like Batman are males. Then female, there are 23 of them, right? So you're going to have 23 divided by 63. So 23 divided by 63 is 0.365, meaning that 36.5% of the people who like Batman are female. And then the total is just 63 divided by 63, which is just 1 there. Then finally we get to the Superman. So out of the 50 people who like Superman, 35 of them are male. So to find out the percentage of the male who likes Superman, you have 35 divided by 50, and we're going to use a calculator, which is going to get you, let me see. Oh yeah, 70% or 0.7. Then 15 of the people who like Superman are female. So you're going to have 15 divided by 50, which is 0.3. And then the total is just 50 over 50, which is just 100% right there. So this is the conditional relative frequency for DC comic book superheroes. So combining example 2a and 2b, they both ask you for the conditional relative frequency, but you have to know which category. When example 2a was for gender, so that means you're going to have the total for each gender, which is right here. And the example 2b, it is the conditional relative frequency for your favorite DC comic book superheroes. So therefore your total should be about the superheroes. Because on your Pearson's homework, it will give you different selections of tables, and you have to first pick the correct one before you even fill in the tables with the percentages that you calculate. So be careful the choices of the table that you choose before you calculating these numbers. In example 3, we're going to calculate something called joint relative frequencies. Remember, joint are the numbers in the middle, and if you were to find out what's the joint relative frequencies, they're the ratios or percent of occurrence compared to the grand total. And in this case, the grand total is 200 there. So we're going to just underline these two important words. They are the ratio or percentage. Again, when you see the word relative frequency, it just means that they're the ratio, decimal, or percentage. So let's take a look at that. We also on the same scenarios of female and male liking different DC comic book superheroes. In example 3, it says calculate the joint relative frequency for all the joint frequencies in the two-way table. Well, for male, there are 25 males who like Wonder Woman, and there are 200 people total. So you're going to have 25 over 200, which you're going to use a calculator to find out what it is. And it's going to be 0.125 or 12.5%. This means that 12.5% of the total are male who likes Wonder Woman. Let's move on to this number 40. It says there are 40 male who likes Batman. So to find out what's the joint relative frequency, you have 40 divided by the grand total, which is going to be 0.2. So we're going to say 20% of the total people that we sample are male and they like Batman. We're going to continue in this fashion. So for male who likes Superman, then it's going to be 35 divided by 200. So if I were to use a calculator, it's going to be 0.175 or 17.5% of the total in a sample are male who like Superman. Let's continue. Females are let's see, for females we have 62 of them who likes Wonder Woman, so 62 divided by 200, which is 0.31. There are 23 female who likes Batman, so 23 divided by 200, and we need a calculator for that, which is 0.115 or 11.5%. And then there are 15 female who like Superman, so it's going to be 15 over 200, which is 0.075 or 7.5% of the people are female who like Superman. Now, we don't have to calculate the percentages for these boxes because these are the marginal relative frequencies. So we're not really have 100 divided by 200 or 87 divided by 200, things like that, because these are marginal. These are not the joint. So remember, joint, it's just the body part. So that's all you do, and you leave these cell blank. Let's take a look at 3 questions. In part A, it says, what is the relative frequencies of male who like Wonder Woman? So we're going to say, well, there are 2 things. Male who likes Wonder Woman. So male who likes Wonder Woman there are 25 of them, and it's going to be 25 out of 200, which is 0.125. Okay. Now, and in part B, it says, what percent of the people surveyed were female? Now, there's only one category here, which is female, the gender. So we're not going to look at the joint relative frequency. We're going to take a look at the marginal relative frequency, which is not really calculated beforehand. So to do that, we're going to show some more work. So we're going to find how many females are there, which is 100. So I have 100 divided by 200, which is 50%. So therefore, we're going to say there are 50%, right? So we're going to say 50% of the people surveyed were female. In part C, it says, what percent of people surveyed like Batman? Now, it does not say gender. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. It just says that how many people in general likes Batman. So again, we cannot look at the body of the two-way table. We have to take a look at, well, the marginal part, which is the number that says Batman, which is 63. So we're going to have 63 divided by 200, which is, if I were to use a calculator, it will get me 0.315. So we're going to say 0.315, but in percentage is 31.5%. Okay. So I would say to answer the questions correctly, right, because when they ask for percent, we're going to box the percentage answer, which is 50% and 31.5% for part B and C. Let's take a look at one last example. In example 4, this time you have to create the two-way table by yourself by reading the prompt with the information that it gave you. So let's take a look at that. The prompt says in a class of 32 students, now that means the total is 32. So as soon as I see 32, I'll put 32 on the grand total part there. It says there were 8 girls who played basketball. Okay, 8 girls who played basketball. So I don't know how many girls are there total, but there's 8 of them who play basketball, right? So we're gonna put 8 here. There are 8 girls who play basketball. And then there's 5 boys who do not. Okay, 5 boys who do not. So that means here's boys, here's the boys that don't play basketball. We're gonna put the 5 here. And then it says there are 15 girls total in class. So now we know what's the marginal frequency for the girls, which is 15. Well, we could do some math to fill in the table. So the blue ink right here tells you these are the numbers that I'm getting from the prompt. The rest, I have to find it out myself. So how do I do that? Well, since there are 15 girls, if 8 of them play basketball, how many of them don't play? So you're going to do 15 minus 8. So 15 minus 8 is 7. So I'm going to just put 15 minus 8, which is 7. So that's how I get 7 here. Let me actually box it so that way you know what numbers are you looking at. So I'm going to box all the numbers that are frequency. So that way you know these are the answers for each cell. And the next thing I know is that, well, since I know that there are 7 girls who don't play basketball and 5 boys who don't play basketball, with the total, I'm just going to add 7 plus 5, which is 12. So here we put 7 plus 5, which is 12. Okay. Now remember, there's 32 people. Out of 32 people, if 15 of them are girls, how many of them are boys? So you're going to do subtraction. So you're going to do 32 minus 15, which will get you 17. So 17 boys, their total. Well, since you know there are 17 boys, if 5 of them do not play basketball, then how many of them play basketball? So subtract these two. That means you have 17 minus 5, which is 12, right? And then finally, you could do, to find out the total number of people who play basketball, you add 8 and 12, which is 20. 8 plus 12 is 20. Now, you could also confirm that by subtracting 32 minus 12, you also will get 20 as well. So there are more than one way to find the last cell. And this is actually another way for you to check whether your answer is correct or not. By kind of just see, well, when you add these two, does it get the total? When you add these two, do you get the total? When you add these two, do you get the total? When you add these two, do you get the total? And when you add these 4 numbers, 8, 7, 5, 12, do you get 32? So there's a lot of ways for you to check whether your calculation is correct or not. Well, once you created the table, let's go to part B. It says, what is the relative frequencies? Now, relative frequency means a percentage of the girls who did not play basketball. Okay, so girls who did not play basketball. That means I'm looking at 7. And I'm going to divide that by the grand total, which is 32. So we're going to do 7 divided by 32, which is 0.219 or 21.9%. Okay. So next, in part C, it says, what percent of boys played basketball? So since it has 2 categories, boys and basketball, we're going to take a look at the joint frequency, which is just 12 right here. So there are 12 boys who play basketball. So you have 12, okay, 12 divided by 32, and then that will get you the percentage, which is 0.375 or 37.5% of the people are boys who play basketball. In part D, it says what percent of students play basketball. So this time we don't have male or female, it's just one category, which is do they play basketball or not. So we want to find out the total number of people who play basketball, which is 20. So that's 20 divided by 32. So 20 divided by 32, it is 62.5% or 0.625. Okay. And then finally, in part E, it says what percent of students are girls. So that means we're going to take a look at the total number of girls, which is 15. So we're going to have 15 divided by 32, which is 46.9% or 0.469. And that's the answer for part D. So that's it. So on your Pearson's homework, it will ask you to perform similar calculations and creations of tables. And the next couple minutes is to remind you how to log on to your Pearson's homework. Thank you. Hey everyone, so to get to your homework, first you go to my CNUSD website and then you click on the top of the page, my CNUSD, to log in. Well, you're going to type in your username and your password. Well, in this case, your student ID and your password. Then you go on to resource. I think for you guys it's resource. And then you go to a place called Pearson Savas Easy. Pearson Savas Easy. I'm not quite sure how you say that word, but it's Pearson Easy. Click on that. And you get to this pop-up page. And you're going to click on your class textbook. So you click on this right here. This is called Envision Integrated Mathematics 1 2009 Common Core. You click on that, a new window pop up again, and you see 3 different colors. The green color is your online textbooks. I teach from this textbooks. So if you don't have a copy, an actual copy, you could always go to here and click on the appropriate sections that we're teaching. But to find your online homework, you look at the reddish, orangish box in between, in the middle. It's called classes. So you're gonna click on here, click on classes, and depending on which period you're in, there will be new assignments here. So you're going to click on the click into the assignments, and then do your homework, and then that's it. Well, inside the homework, there are problems for you to work on, which allow you 3 attempts before they give you the final answer. So for example, for this problem, if you accidentally got a wrong answer, it'll tell you keep trying. Then you type in another answer, and if it's wrong, then it'll give you one more chance. And the 3rd time that you got it wrong, it'll tell you the answer right away. So, but you could always get help by viewing an example on this part of the feature. So it'll tell you what to do step by step until the final answer. So you could always refer to the question, help view an example, or you could use help me to solve this to actually work it step by step. So there will be more answer boxes for you to fill in, but at least it will help you on your learning. Now for this problem, what do you do when you get it wrong, right? So to get a point or to get scores on that homework, then you click on similar questions and you keep practicing until you get it right. So if I were to click on similar questions, you notice that the questions changed. It's different from the previous one. So let's say this time you got it right. Let's say x is equal to 5, right? Well, if you got it right, it will tell you well done, okay, and then you move on to the next problem. So you click on next to move on to the next problem, like this. And once you finish all the problem, I believe the next thing is for you to make sure that you answer all the questions. If there's anything that is not answered, make sure that you go back and look at it like this, right? So this is not answered. But let's say assume that if you finish your all of the questions on your homework, then you go to the bottom, I believe. Oh, actually, this button right here says submit my work. So you click on it, and then boom, I only got 3% just because I only answered one question correct, the rest I did not answer. So in order for you to get at least 80% or any good scores, make sure that you answer every single question and it's correct, not incorrect, for you to get as many points as possible on your homework. If you have any questions, please contact me.